D, wait for it, light bulb.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I just literally finished the latest episode of Stargirl. Now, they don't name these episodes except for like Summer School Chapter 4, which I don't really like that, but it's like whatever. So this episode was good. I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was better than last week's. I know we got like Thunderbolt and everything. He was like a super powered person or whatnot. But this one, I thought that it was good in the sense that we got some information. We got to see some old characters. And then we got to see the formation, the start of the formation of the new Injustice Society 2.0. So I really like this show a lot. I think that this is probably the second best DC TV show on the CW, followed by, I mean, it's not followed, it's preceded by Superman and Lois. Superman and Lois is a fantastic show, and then this one is right behind it. I know that Jeff Johns is involved and he's problematic, but it doesn't matter. It's still a good show. Like there's no getting around this. Breck Betzinger, is that, I don't know how to say her name. She's fantastic. So yeah, and then we got to see Tigress and Game Master come back. Gosh, I don't know. I'm not really like big on those two characters. Well, Tigress, I don't think is she's in the anyways, I'm not big on those characters. And then we got some more information about Eclipso, which I'm super excited about. And we got some information about an Injustice Society member that we'll talk about towards the end and everything. Why don't we go ahead and break down this episode, and I'll give you my thoughts as we go along. But just remember, I did like this episode. We need to see Eclipso. I think this is only a 10 episode season, or 13. I can't remember off the top of my head. And we're on episode 4. I'm like, when are they going to show? He better not just show up at like the last episode, because then I'll be annoyed. All right, so we're going to break down this episode right now, and I'm quite excited about it. So it starts off in prison, and Artemis goes to meet her parents. And this is a game master. It doesn't matter. I know that with Taskmaster. No, not Task. That's Marvel. Anyways, so she's talking and she's like, "Hey, my big tryout is coming up, and I'm nervous and everything." And then she's like, "Oh, she's in foster care," and she's like, "It sucks. They don't even have Sunday football package." And I'm all like, "Oh, it's a little like this is the thing about this show." And it's cheesy and a little corny sometimes, but at the same time, I like it. So I mean, it's such a weird combo. Anyways, so he's all like, "Oh, those no football package, what mongrels," and everything. She's like, "I miss you," and she does the hand thing. And that was sad. I feel bad because she thinks her parents are innocent, and they're not. But she loves her parents, and that's totally understandable. And I'm a parent. I get it and everything. And I have parents. So then the guard's all like, "Time's up." And she's like, "You said I have 15 minutes. He's like, "Time flies when you're in prison." Oh, I hated his laugh. It was so fake. And he's like, "But don't worry, you'll have next week and the week after and the week after." And I was like, "Okay, dude, you like, with your creepy ass bald head." He's scary looking. Anyways, so then back at Beth's house, which I have to be honest, the character of Beth, I do not like Beth. The actress does a good job. Like, I have nothing against her. It's just this character I find so annoying. First off, she talks to herself all the freaking time, and I'm all like, nobody does this stuff in real life. Like, I'm not sitting in my office going, "I need to get this how are all this stuff." I mean, granted, she's talking to the goggles right now, but sometimes like whenever characters talk to themselves, I'm like, why do you do this? It's so weird. Anyways, okay, so she's trying to get Chuck online, and he kind of comes online, and she's like, "Chuck, how you doing?" He's like, he's "Who's Eclipso?" and everything. So then her mom comes in, and she's hiding, and she's like, "Hey, the putt is back in business, and you and Dad went there on your first date." And she's all like, "Well," she's like, "Maybe you guys could go there again for a date." And she's all like, "Well, maybe you and your friends could go." And she's like, "Yeah." And then she pulls up, and then there's this Eclipso file, but it's confidential. So then back at Pat's house, these two are talking. I don't remember the mom's name. I don't know, but she does a good job on the show. And they're talking about, they're talking about Eclipso and the Shade. and how he's looking for the diamond and everything. And she, she's scared. And then Stargirl overhears him and she's like, did you say Eclipso? And he's like, how do you know about Eclipso? And she's like, Beth said that, he's back. She couldn't open these confidential files. Who is he? And he's all like, he's basically he's a super villain and he's like a demon or whatever, and he does bad things kind of thing. I can't remember exactly. Okay, I didn't write it down, but that conversation, and he's just basically like, he's bad news bears. So then over at Cindy's house, they all have nice houses. You notice that? Like, they all have really nice houses, and I'm all like, whatever. Anyways, so she's sitting here with the diamond, and Eclipso shows her birth mother, and she's all like, don't hurt me again and everything, and she's like, I love you kind of thing or whatnot. And so she's like, turn it off. She's like, never show that to me again. And he's all like, I'm just here to serve you. What you want, I want, which is obviously like, Eclipso's a liar. And that's the thing about Cindy. Like, I don't like, maybe it's just her ego, but she can't think that she could possibly beat Eclipso / control him forever, right? But she does, and it's so annoying because I'm like, does anybody read a comic book in these comic book shows? So, anyways, he's like, I wonder what you want, and then he shows her the new ISA 2.0. And like we saw before, Icicle 2, the new games master, whatnot. And then we see her, and then we see Mike. My question about that is, what would Mike do in this team? Like, would he be their Stripesy and like make a robot, like a mean robot? And I'm like, I wonder what he would do. And then we see the new Fiddler, which we'll see all these people again in a little bit. So then she gets dropped off by her foster mother, and her foster mother is a total biatch. Okay. She's all like, I don't know who said that to you. I don't know why she has a Southern accent. Like, nobody else has a Southern accent, but she does. She's like, I don't know who said that to you, but it's a lie. I got this new foster kid with prison folk or whatever. And then she gives her a lunch in a plastic bag. Now, listen, I have not been in foster care. I don't know how that is, but if that's how it goes down, like, shame on you. But I'm pretty sure there are, like, when you watch Shazam, those foster parents were totally cool. I liked them a lot, and because they were foster kids also, but yeah, they were cool. But this woman was like totally ratchet. And she's like, what is this? And she's like, I asked for whey protein. And she's like, they didn't have wheat protein, whey protein. She's like, she's all like, how am I supposed to have fuel for my game? And she's like, that's not my problem. I'm late for a nail appointment and everything. And she was just a biatch. Anyways, so she goes on the field. She's frustrated. She throws the ball really hard. Mike, he gets the paper and he sees that they've escaped. And then, of course, he's there. He's like, hey, bud, and everything. And then Tigress comes and she's like, don't try to run because you can't, or run from us because you can't. I was like, that's good. So back at the high school, she's all like, you don't have any wheatgrass. And she's all like, that's at them fancy schools and everything. She's like, is there any fresh berries? And she's like, if you want any of that stuff, you got to bring it from home. So then, Stargirl tries to give her the apple. And the thing about this scene, though, she was like, what's this? And I was like, how do you not know what an apple is, honeybee? Come on, stop it. Okay. Your parents never fed you an apple. They only fed you fresh berries. Like, come on. But she's like, it's the only piece of fresh fruit in the entire building, which also I don't believe, because I don't know about you, but when I went to high school, they had fruit. They had apples at minimum in a basket that you plucked out, you put on your plate, your tray, and then you went on. You could totally buy an apple at school. So that's a little bit like, and everything. So then she's all like, listen, I'm really sorry about your parents. And she's like, they're innocent. And Ilana does this like little, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And she's like, the Crocs never forget. And then she just like crushes the apple. And I'm like, well, where are you going to get your fuel now, hon? Okay. When you're crushing fruit. And then she bumps into, she's like, ow, and everything. Then this teacher, she gets a test and she's like, you did it again, Rick. You got a perfect score. And he's like, I studied. And she's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, she's like, you just, misunderstood me or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the wordage that he used. He's like, just like everybody else. Now, this is the thing. I think it was good that this teacher acknowledged that she was wrong and she apologized. I think it takes a lot it takes a lot for someone to admit they're wrong, and it takes a bigger person to admit or to say you're sorry for that. So I'm happy that they showed that, because sometimes they show teachers to be jerks and they never show like that teacher like realizing they were wrong. So I'm glad that they did that, because that was good. And then it shows that Rick, he's a smarty pants. So that's good. I wish they would do more with his character, because the other characters like Yolana and Beth and then Rick, they all had pretty prominent storylines in the first season, and now I think they're just getting pushed to the back of the line, which I don't understand, because that's like your whole show, this team. So then back at the lunchroom, the new fiddler, I don't remember his name, he's sitting there eating lunch alone. And Cindy shows up and she's like, I'm back. She looks fantastic here, by the way. This outfit is fantastic on her. Her hair's great. She looks great and she's hot. So she's all like, hey, I'm sorry, I remember that you played or whatnot. He's like, you noticed me? And she's like, oh yeah, and everything. So she sits down and she's like, I'm really sorry about your mom, and everything. She's like, my parents died too. And he's like, how did your parents die? And she's all like, I need new friends. You want to be my friend? And he's like, how did your parents die? And she's like, very badly. And then everything. So the Pat gets a phone call from a flip phone. Who still has a flip phone? What is that? What is it? 19 or 2014? Come on. Anyways, or 2008. So he's got a flip phone, and Mike calls him and says, hey, come down to the pit stop. So he goes down there and they got him. They got Mike. And then I liked how Tigress landed and game Sportsmaster, that's his name. He's like, good, you landed that, oh gosh, good landing, honey, or whatever. Anyways, so they are basically talking to him and they're like, listen, you can try to get to the robot, but we're just going to take you out and everybody will know you have a robot. Or you can help us sneak into the football game to watch our daughter play, and then we'll break back into prison and we won't hurt anybody in the process if you help us. So he's all like, so they takes him back to their house and he's talking to his wife and she's all like, I don't know how I feel about this. They almost tried to kill me. And he's all like, well, he's like, they just want to see their kid play. And she's all like, you believe that and everything? And yada, yada, yada kind of thing. So then he goes in and he's like, you let yourself go, bud, and everything. And he's like, we could have been real friends. He's like, yeah, if you hadn't tried to kill me. He's like, yeah, you're right. And then these two are in the kitchen and she's judging her mothering skills. And she's like, you let your children eat processed food? And she's like, you want some coffee? And she's like, caffeine? No, thank you. And she's like, you want some water? And she's like, what kind? And she's like, tap. And she's like, ugh, and everything. Very pretentious, not nice at all. But then they're talking about their kids and she's all like, the processed food thing. She's like, Mike, if I didn't give it to him, he'd find a way to get him, which is totally true about children. They will find a way to get what they want. And as far as processed food goes, it's fine in moderation. I give my kids some chips every now and then. It's totally cool. They just don't get chips every day. Except they call them chippies. I love it. Anyways, then they're talking about their daughters and how they're stubborn and they just, they love their independence and how they can be like, strong women, but it's frustrating because they don't listen to them and do what they say as a parent / a mother, which is totally understandable. Like, you want your kids to be independent and on their own, but at the same time, you're like, listen, I understand that you think that I'm a dummy, but I mean, I've been around the block a couple of times. I know what I'm talking about. I've been where you've been, it sucks. So anyway, they're kind of bonding. I don't remember what these two talk about. Anyways, so then we go back to the diner and Yolana's got a job, which I don't understand. Would they do places make you wear outfits like this still? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. So she sets down the shake and he's like, I asked for a strawberry shake. And then Beth's like, I didn't want any whipped cream. Now, this is what I have to say about this. I've worked in the service industry before. How do you mess that up? How do you mess up 2 milkshakes and 1 strawberry and the other one doesn't have whipped cream? Explain that to me, Yolana. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's your first day or your 100th day. Okay. When somebody says strawberry shake, you don't give them a chocolate shake. No one's ever done that before. No one's ever messed that up. So writers need to get their stuff together. So then they're researching the the black diamond, and they find out that it was on an island called Diablo Island, which is totally in the DC universe. All of this makes total sense because Eclipso comes from Diablo Island, and it's been taken off of the map, but it's back in the 1820s by this guy. Oops, hold on, this guy, and this is Bruce Gordon. And he discovered the diamond, and he becomes Eclipso, I believe, in the comic books. Don't quote me on that, because I know Eclipso. I've read comic books. I own a couple with Eclipso in them, but I'm not like an expert on Eclipso. Like, I know that when he takes you over, he makes half your face black, and he has fought the Justice League before and has like won, but eventually lost and everything. So they're sitting here talking. Rick orders 12 dozen cheeseburgers and some fries for Solomon Grundy, because he's got to feed the dog and everything. And then Stargirl goes off to the old bookstore to figure out some other stuff, and Beth sits with him and everything. So then back at the school, she takes him to the ISA headquarters, and she shows him, and he sees his dad, a picture of his dad, and he's like, "Dad?" He's like, "Yeah, he was the fiddler." And then she throws up a fiddle on the thing. He's like, "I can't play that." And she's like, "Oh, but you'll learn," and everything. So then Stargirl goes to this old bookshop, and she's like, "Do you have any books about the adventurer Bruce? Oh gosh, what's his name? Bruce. I just said it. Bruce, not Wayne." Anyways, so then he's like, "It's in the back." So then she goes and she runs into the Shade. The Shade's all like, "Ooh, what you doing, honeybee?" That's not what he says, but anyways. And she's all like, "I know what you're up to, Shade. You and Eclipso are going to team up and take over the world," kind of thing. He's all like, "Oh, a supervillain team up." He's like, "That's all you think of me?" And then she's like, "Well, what else would you be doing?" And then she mentions Icicle and some other people from the old ISA. And he's like, "Don't insult me with those buffoons. Those people were selfish, and they only thought of each other." And she's like, "Well, then what are you doing?" And he's like, "I want the diamond so then I can take it and put it in the deepest, blackest part of the ocean. So that way Eclipso can never hurt anyone again." And it makes me wonder, is Shade a villain in this? Because I mean, if he's trying to stop Eclipso, he's not really a villain. And she's like, "Why would you do that? You killed Dr. Mid-Nite." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "Were you there?" And she's like, "No, but Pat was." And he's like, "Oh, Stripesy. Yeah, that's right. You have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. So back off. Okay." And then she's like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "When you live as long as I have, maybe I'm just bored." And then he goes off into the shadows. I can't remember exactly what he says here. He looks good there. And he goes off into the shadows. And I like how they're doing the Shade, because they don't have to use they can use practical effects. For that, they just turn down the lights and have him step back into the shadowy part. Very cool. So then she comes home, and she sees she's like, "Where's Pat?" And her mom tells her. So they're back at the football game, and they're like, "You two need to lay low and just watch her and then go away." So sorry, it's early where I'm at. This guy is checking out Artemis and watching her do her thing. And she's playing everything, and she's in her own head, they say. And then they're like, "Hey, we're here." And Artemis gets her stuff back, and she starts playing really, really well. There's a 40-yard pass. Guess that's good. And he's impressed, and they're like, "Woo, that's my girl," and everything. And then Cindy shows up, and then Cindy uses the diamond on Artemis. Now, I didn't like this, that she used it on Artemis, but I totally understood why, because, and we'll go over that in just a second. So then Artemis sees the SWAT team surround her parents, and she's freaking out. So she runs, she hits the other quarterback, the guy in the wings, and then takes out Stargirl. And she's like, "What happened?" And Cindy's all like, "Ooh," and everything. And she did that. And she's and then okay, hold on, we'll get back into that in a second. So then she's talking to her parents, and they're like, "You got this." And she's like, "The only reason I did good today is because you guys were here." And they're like, "No, you've always had this, and we need to go away so you can have a future." She's like, we're not your future. Your future is to be the first female quarterback in college football," which would have been nice, but she didn't get it. But she sat, and they're like, "We're gonna go." And so they go back, and then Stargirl's like, "Is it bad that I feel bad for them?" And he's like, "No," kind of thing. And their parents, I totally get it. They're they're totally villains. So then she's talking to that guy that was watching her play football, and he's like, listen, we'd love to have you on, but your anger is too much. We can't have you representing our school. She like crushes her phone or whatnot, and then she's mad. And the reason Cindy did that is because now she doesn't have a future, so she has plenty of time to be in the ISA. So she's like, hey, you don't get to join that team, but I have another team you can join. And then back at Stargirl's house, the mom, Pat, has told her about Eclipso, and she's like, did you tell Court? And he's like, no. She's like, do we tell them? And he's all like, they eventually decide no, that they're going to protect them from the truth. And this always ends up bad. Just tell them the truth. Tell them about Eclipso. They're superheroes. Just tell them, be open, be honest. It'll help you in the future. It will. It's always better to tell them with stuff like this, especially because Eclipso is such a huge bad guy. I don't even know how they're going to defeat Eclipso, because the Justice League can't even like sometimes defeat Eclipso. It's insane, but it's totally cool. So then Stargirl's all like, listen, if Pat's not going to tell us, we're going to find out from the Shade. We're going to get some info from the Shade. And I'm like, oh, look at that. That's not good either. You don't get intel from a villain. Okay. So she flies off. And then over at Beth's house, she's like, firewall deleted. And I'm all like, stop talking to yourself. It's crazy. So then it comes back online, and he's like, who is this? He's like, why do you keep calling me Chuck? I don't know you. And sorry, I need a little libation. And he's like, listen, my name is Dr. Midnighter. I'm in the shadows. Something about stripes or whatever. And she's like, oh my gosh, Dr. Midnight is still alive. And what happened? And then it goes into him in the shadows. And I thought the shadows area was really good. So let's hold on. I want to go back to that. Okay. So in the very first episode of the very first season, Dr. Midnight gets grabbed by the Shade and then pulled back. And that's the last we see of him. And then he's in the shadow realm, which I don't know very much about that either, but it's like the underneath from Stranger Things. It's just that there's from what I understand, I don't think that there's creatures in it or whatnot. But this is totally cool because the Shade and other like people like him, like kind of have a power set like him, can travel through it. And it's kind of like another dimension. Or at least from what I remember. I haven't read up on that kind of stuff. And I didn't Google it before I did this video. But it's really a good place to go. And I'm all in for this season. I think that so far it's really good. I'm having a good time watching it. This episode was excellent. I mean, there wasn't fighting or anything, but it was still good. They need to have a little bit more action. So maybe the next episode have a little punchy punch. But I enjoyed this episode immensely. I can't wait to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see though, because with like Green Lantern, if Green Lantern comes back and then you have Thunderbolt, that's so much CGI. And I don't know how they can spend all this money on, I'm like, they only have so much for their budget each episode, but I'm happy that they're spending the money because I'm enjoying this immensely. So that is my breakdown and review of Stargirl season 2, episode 4. Summer School Chapter 4. Tell me, what did you guys think about this episode? Where do you think this is going to go? What is Eclipso's end game? It's probably just to take over the world because that's what every villain's thing is. Is the Shade a bad guy, or is he just trying to destroy Eclipso and then he's going to go off and do his own thing? Do you think that we'll get those JSA members, Johnny Thunder, although it's not Johnny Thunder anymore, and Green Lantern to join the team for season 3? Do you think the ISA will be around at the end of the season? Tell me all your theories and comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next breakdown and review of Stargirl. You guys have a good week. Bye.